thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, international attention trained on the Royal Bahamas Police Force after a senior officer is charged with the death of an American. Many of you have a lot of thoughts about the quick justice at play here. We take a look. And it's Wednesday. Temperature check. Tonight, Bane and Grantstown and Fort Charlotte. Who would you say is ahead? Which candidate is lagging? We get into it coming up. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. A senior police officer now at the center of a murder case drawing international attention and placing the Royal Bahamas Police Force under heavy and harsh scrutiny. Linton Ritchie Jr. has the latest in tonight's story.
Swift justice for the American family of 31-year-old Pike Corporation employee Cody Castillo as Superintendent Bernil Pinder was handed down a murder charge in the magistrate's court on Wednesday. U.S. Ambassador Herschel Walker reacting to the charge in a statement, writing, "The Federal Bureau of Investigation is offering support to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and he's pleased with the government of the Bahamas' decision to charge the senior cop with murder." Pinder, an officer of the Royal Bahamas Police Force for some 32 years, was off duty when he shot Castillo to the upper body outside of Plantation Bar and Grill following a verbal spat on Saturday, sparking outrage both locally and internationally. Video footage circulating captured the slain American final breaths as Pinder, who fatally wounded him, can be seen on a cell phone pacing between the roadway and sidewalk while bystanders looked on. Hours later, a GoFundMe was launched, now with a goal of $60,000 as the murdered American leaves behind a pregnant wife who's weeks away from giving birth to their first child. Pinder was not required to enter a plea as he stood before acting Chief Magistrate Ancilia Evans. Bail was denied and the matter will proceed by way of a voluntary bill of indictment. He is represented by Ian Cargill and Cassie Bethel. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Well, international attention and a high-level response were quickly followed by charges against that police officer in connection with the murder of the U.S. resident and American citizen at that establishment on Sunday. And so today, Eyewitness News turned to social media posing this question: do you think the quick charge shows accountability or pressure? Here's how you responded. 2% of participants voted proper accountability by authorities. 95% of you voted influenced by international or political pressure. 2% voted a standard legal process, nothing unusual. 1% voted it's too early to determine. And so we get in right there this evening, talking about this matter. We saw, of course, this unfortunate incident all unfolded on Sunday. The police officer, a senior officer that we've now learned has been charged with murder. And many people are saying, whoa, there is such a thing as swift justice in the Bahamas? And it's nothing to take lightly because a man lost his life in something that seemed to be, from the outside looking in, senseless. But Bahamians too have a lot of questions because many Bahamians have grievance against the police. Many Bahamians are asking too for their day, and when will they also receive justice? We're going to get in right there this evening with the Hot Topics panel. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Cassia Stewart and Ellington Ferguson. Good evening to you, both of you gentlemen. It's good to have you both here.
Good evening, Shanique. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Oh, listen, Ellington, question about this. You hear, first of all, Herschel Walker says the FBI stands by willing and ready to step in and assist the Royal Bahamas Police Force in this investigation if need be. Is the FBI needed on Bahamian shores to assist in this investigation, Cassius and Ellington?
I mean, that's far-fetched. I think that is very, very far-fetched. I mean, he'd do better to say the police department of South Florida. This ain't no,
what he can say.
This ain't no mystery where we trying to figure out who done what, where, and when, and all of that. No, I think that was a little, he got a little excited. And I would caution him in the future, you know, when you're using your national resources of your law enforcement, not to get a little overexcited and carried away with it. I think there were eyewitnesses on the scene who kind of saw what happened. There's been a lot of talk about it, and it was almost, in a way, a clear-cut case to charge somebody. And we've had cases like this. I know a lot of people talk about the swift justice component of it. We've had cases like this where the police would have known who they're looking for in a particular murder case, and either the person is hiding or sometime the following day somebody is arrested and charged with that offense. So we've had cases locally.
In a quick turnaround like this locally,
yes? Yes, there have been cases where the following day the police was able to find persons, unlike this case where the police officer did not run and hide. Okay, but there are cases when police would be able to find through their investigative process the next day. Sometimes it lingers a little longer, but persons are charged before the courts.
Yeah, but you know, for me though, whilst we want to offer our sympathies from beyond the headlines to the family of the murdered individual, one of the issues that is troubling me is that the police officer has been charged with murder, and you know, under U.S. law, murder, manslaughter, first and second degree murder comes a different category. And I'm not sure that this fits the category of murder more so than manslaughter, because murder is when you deliberately tend to go and try to kill someone. But manslaughter is that, of course, he is a police officer. He thought that, according to what I heard from the police, that he thought that his life was in danger when the vehicle was coming to him and he fired shots. So that's not necessarily murder. It should come under the category of manslaughter. The problem in the Bahamas is that we don't have no categories. We have only one category. If you kill somebody, it's murder. And this is the issue that the Privy Council had with the Bahamas when you're talking about
the worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst, because we had no different categories of murder. And so we need to restructure the laws in the Bahamas to really, so that we can categorize these different cases. Because if somebody comes at you and you just hit them and they die, did you deliberately try to kill them? No. So they're considered manslaughter. You should still pay the crime for it. Or is it first degree, second degree, third degree murder, or so on. And so, but we have to move swiftly to try to fix our laws, because while, you know, he shouldn't have done what he did, I mean, of course, it was in a moment, it's not murder per se, because he didn't deliberately try to kill him, according to what I heard from the police force. The vehicle was coming at him and he pulled out his weapon to, you know, he was in fear of his life. So if that being the case, then it should be considered manslaughter, not murder.
It's just quite interesting and unfortunate all around. You heard the man's wife, the victim's wife, is about to give birth any day now. But I want to ask you all, though, about the sentiment of the Bahamian public, who rightly feels a way, because many of them feel as though justice has just kind of gone in the opposite direction of them, and many of them are still awaiting whether it's cases against the police or whatever it is, for their day in court, for their matter to be tried.
You know, Animal Farm says that, you know, in a society, democratic society, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So in this case, there are some animals who in our society that are more equal than you, a Bahamian, who trying to get answers. And so you just have to wait in line, because you're not as equal as they are. And so.
And again, Shanique, the Bahamians have every right to feel that perception based on a lot of things that we have encountered. However, I will not rush to classify this as that. I think people have been charged in other cases, and yes, they are waiting for the case to come up. This police officer is charged. His case is supposed to come up in July. How fast it proceeds after that is another question. So right now, with him being charged, doesn't say that the family is getting justice right here. This is not justice. It's just probably a more clear case. He's immediately charged. His case coming up in July. And when it happened after that, whether it's next year or the year after, that is the question when you determine swift justice.
You know, it's unfortunate, though. It's unfortunate that this incident happened, and I'm sure that the officer who was caught up in this, he perhaps didn't really mean to kill what he did, and but it's also unfortunate for the young man to lose his life.
It is.
And so we, like I said, you know, we just want to offer our condolences because it's you know, on both sides it's weighing heavy.
No one wins.
Nobody wins on both sides, but of course, the United States wants justice and they want swift justice, and they get swift justice.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you all, and maybe it's too soon, but about, you know, I don't know, our police officers in their training or tactics that they might use. Maybe it's just a bit too soon with such a raw wound. But sometimes, you know, this society appears to be quite angry, and not that we don't see what's playing out on the streets of the United States. And so it's not like it's, you know, acting out this way as something that is synonymous with Bahamian police officers or law enforcement. But you know, your thoughts on that, gentlemen, about our police officers, I don't know, being a little more measured.
Well, you know, I mean, when every police officer, whether in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, they're in South Florida, they're in Boston, they're all trained to kill. And it may be hard to say, but they're trained to kill. So if they feel that their life is in danger, they don't say shoot the person in the arm or shoot the person. They say kill the person. That's how they're trained. And so when you see that happens, that's a part of the training, because if you ever see a firing range, you don't see no arm or no leg. The only you see is chest and head. And you're trained to either shoot in the chest or shoot in the head. That's their training, whether they're in the Bahamas or they're in Africa or they're in America. They all know that. And so, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to use judgment. And so whether you may have to, I mean, whether you pulling out your pistol or pulling out your weapon, you use your judgment. In America, we see that a lot of black killings, unnecessary black killings, because the officers didn't use judgment. And of course, the police department gets held for it too. In this case, you know, whether or not he used judgment is another thing. And so if he know that he was intoxicated, if he know that he was out drinking, having a good time, he should have said, call 911, let them deal with that. I'm off duty right now, I ain't getting into that. But if you decide to get into that, even if, you know, if you went out drinking, you shouldn't have been involved in the altercation. Everybody knows 911 number, and they could have gotten to the bottom of that.
Shanique, I think this commissioner of police came into this force and met it with a myriad of issues plaguing this institution. I think I would love to see her get a little more aggressive in tackling these institutions. Initially, she talked about some continuous training in the Royal Bahamas Police Force. We're not sure whether that has kicked in as yet, but my perspective, and Cassius began to allude to it a little just a moment ago. I think that police officers that are off duty, a police officer is always a police officer, but once a police officer is off duty and he's deciding that he's going to a nightclub or any night spot and he's going to drink and enjoy himself, I have no problem with that. I think if number one, if he's going to drink and have fun and enjoy himself, his weapon should be left at the station or at home in a proper safe. Okay? Number two, I think if a police officer is involved directly, him and a person, in an argument, they should not be the one to adjudicate that argument. They should then call the station, like they would tell all of us to do about conflict resolution. They should call the police to the scene. They should not try to adjudicate their own matters. And we have too much of that. I think there needs to be a kind of training that says to police, a weapon that you have is not for you to defend your personal issues. No, that's not what it's for. Unless in a case where you are sober-minded and you are protecting other citizens from some kind of harm. And so, no, that weapon is not your personal thing to tote around.
Well, I'll tell you, according to stories, there was an altercation. He kind of stepped in to try and bring some peace there, and then that got out of hand. And so, again, when this case goes to trial, we obviously will follow it and see what the details are coming out of it. Meanwhile, I want to quickly get into this, guys. This is not a new topic, but here it goes. It continues. The passport controversy back in the headlines tonight as both Prime Minister Davis and Opposition Leader Michael Pintard clash again over the passport issue. Laurencia Smith has the story.
The fraudulent passport controversy back under the microscope in Parliament, with the Prime Minister taking aim at the opposition leader Michael Pintard over the document. He tabled last Wednesday. Pintard argued that Davis had categorized the passport issue as an isolated situation. However, the Prime Minister pushed back, insisting he never used those words, and called for the documents to be brought back to the floor for proper reference and verification. Davis also pointed to an article published in the Tribune headline, Davis, fake voter cards pose no systemic threat, and urged the Parliament to review the records. He further requested that Pintard's remarks be removed from the official record. While those comments were not struck, the Prime Minister went on to read directly from the article, reinforcing his position as the dispute intensified in the chamber.
Fake voter cards pose no systemic threat. That's the headline. And you ladies, and you converted, you saying I said isolated. You could go, that's what he said I said. Yeah. When did I say it?
Along with the article last Wednesday, Pintard said more than 200 cases of fraudulent passport and other Bahamian documents were currently being investigated, with Pintard also providing a list of some 70-plus active cases.
Now, however, any fraudulent document that purports to be an official document of the government has the potential of undermining the integrity of that system. We are troubled by the fact that our documents and other official instruments are being frauded in a way to mislead others. And I know that the police has taken note of this.
While Pintard stood on a point of order, while other members of the government and the opposition rallied through chairs and banging on the table from both sides.
Members. Thank you. I can break. Cases, more than 10 cases are before the courts now, Madam Speaker. And so again, I maintain the view that the Prime Minister is seeking to give the impression this is an isolated event, and it is not. It is systemic, Madam Speaker.
Meanwhile, Davis slammed the former Free National Movement administration, suggesting that their policy decisions may have fueled a growing wave of fraud cases now under intense scrutiny. He added that the FNM's handling of the passport matter was, in his view, reckless and misleading.
Into supporting records. It reduced the passport office's ability to verify identity, test citizenship claims, and apply the scrutiny required to protect the integrity of the passport system. Pintard, you crazy. They all sat in the cabinet, Henfield and Sands, right? You heard it, you saw it, and they said nothing.
The Marco City MP did not waste time defending the former administration and told the Parliament that the Cat Island, Rumpke, and San Salvador MP was misleading the Parliament.
Speaker, to make the renewal of e-passports, is the area where some of the strictures were removed. What the Prime Minister is saying is something else. All new passports are subjected under the Free National Movement as they said it is under them.
Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Gentlemen, very quickly, let's just talk about this. This passport issue continues to kind of just present itself in varying degrees again and again.
So let me talk. I mean, let me say something to the leader of the opposition. And I understand you get this one issue like a pit bull on you on this issue, right? We need to clarify this issue. The passports are not fraudulent. They are wrongly issued. They are illegally issued. If we keep pushing this issue and it gets into the international media or international world, when I go to China or I go to Japan and they say, we hear your passports are fraudulent, you can't come into my country. We got to be very careful because the Bahamas is one of those countries where it's accepted the passports accepted all over the world. If we create this narrative around the world that our passports are no good, you're going to stop every Bahamian from going around the world and getting their passport accepted. So you got to be very careful with this argument. I know this the only issue you got, but you got to be careful with this argument because it could hurt every Bahamian. And I understand you want to clean up the passport situation, but say what's happening. The passports are not fraudulent. The people who are issuing the passports should not be issuing the passport to the people who are receiving them because they don't deserve it. They're not Bahamian citizens. That's the argument. Don't say the passport is fraudulent. The passports are good passports. Because when I go away next week to China or wherever, I don't want nobody come tell me I can't come in the country because the leader of the opposition say our passports are no good. I could be mad. So we all fix that. We all fix that now.
I'm disappointed that at this point yet, I've yet to hear congratulations to the administrators of the passport at the passport office for being able to investigate and to detect these things and to stop them and to see the amount that they've been able to catch. And so I'm very disappointed that it's taking a toll where it's attempting to point fingers between administrations. This is very unfortunate.
Yeah, petty.
Yeah,
Find another issue. The passport office need to be cleaned up. Every government agency need to clean themselves up because we don't want no corruption in the Bahamas.
Thank you,
But find another issue, please.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Cassius Stewart, Ellington Ferguson, thank you very, very much. Don't go anywhere because when we come back, listen, pull up a chair. I hope you have your tally sheets and everything else and that you are keeping pace and count because temperature check is next. Our first constituency, Bane and Grantstown.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel, and I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Luckily it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. They're big enough now to handle your big loads, you know. Yeah, like your comfort on your blanket. But just look at us. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh, stop! Help! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes your process you and entertains you 24/7.
My name is Charles Wesley Gould. My organic farm is Nice Layers Organic Farm. I have 230 birds up here. I give them fresh water, pumpkin, lettuce, cabbages, all the vegetables. Anything what I eat, they eat. Right now we sell the eggs for $7 a dozen from Monday to Friday. On Saturdays, you can get 4 dozen eggs for $21. I'll be located on Jamaica Road, the western side, Silverstone Primary School.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best-kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Hey, it's time to lock in your vote.
Your vote is your power.
With the new boundaries in place, you may need to transfer or confirm your voter registration.
And if you have never registered or didn't plan to vote,
don't get left out on one of the most important decisions of your future.
Make sure when election day comes, you're ready to say,
your say, your vote, your choice.
Play for fun, not for funds.
In the Bahamas, we play hard, but we live smart.
We love a little competition.
A little excitement, a little thrill.
And at Island Luck, gaming is all about entertainment.
Shared moments, celebrating the wins, and enjoying the experience.
The key is simple. Play for fun, not for funds. When you set a budget before you start
and know your limits, you stay in control.
And when you're in control, the game stays what it's meant to be.
Fun. So play for fun, not for funds.
Must be 18 and over. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so please game responsibly.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Well, it's temperature check, Bane and Grantstown tonight. This political series is where we take the political temperature across the Bahamas. We are doing so one constituency at a time, one candidate at a time. And this is to determine who's hitting all the right notes with voters, whose vision is clearer and more promising, and who has the momentum. And so welcome to Temperature Check. My panelists, it's good to see you all. Good evening to each of you. Peggy Candace, Gabrielle Mackenzie Enius, and Michael Turnquest. Good evening to each of you.
Good evening, Shanique. Thank you for having me on once again.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. It's almost Easter, y'all. We're on election watch.
We absolutely are.
Remember Lent.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, panel.
Hi, Michael.
Good
Great to
evening.
see you. So listen, ladies and gent, we are, of course, looking at, and we will begin with the candidates in Bane and Grantstown. And they are the Coalition of Independents, Antonio Bane, the Free National Movement's Jay Philippe, the Progressive Liberal Parties, and the incumbent, Wade Watson. And they appear in that order on the screen. And so there's Antonio Bane, COI, there's Jay Philippe, FNM, and there's Wade Watson, PLP. Now, panelists, what have you all been able to discover, learn about, and what do you all know about Antonio Bane?
Well, Shanique and panel, mom's the word, I guess, today. Well, you know, I went down by Kirky's, because if you don't know where Kirky's is, you shouldn't be talking about being in town. So I had to go down there by Kirky's, you know, where everybody's get a little bit of liquid courage from time to time. And I went down there and I had a conversation as patrons from the area came by. I went across the street, spoke to some persons in the neighboring community. And one of the persons, to my surprise, they did not know who the name of the person that was the candidate. But he told me, if a dog put on a black shirt, that's who we could vote for. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay then. I say, do you know who is representing that black shirt? He say, I don't know, but if a dog put it on, that's who I'm voting for, because I am just fed up. And that was all I got from any resident in regard to...
Oh, so all of them said the same thing. Everybody you came into contact with.
No, not everyone I came into contact with.
Do they know him?
Everyone that spoke, no one else knew who that particular candidate was or what they were doing. But the one or two people that I did speak to were just fed up with the politics, and they did indicate that, listen, whoever it is, they don't care. They are going to vote for the black shirt.
Okay. Michael, you have anything to weigh in?
Shanique, I mean, you know, the COI in the last election didn't do too well in this constituency. I don't see, you know, from what I've heard on the ground, a lot of persons don't know the individual. I don't think they're knocking on the doors as some of the other candidates are. So I really don't see them making any impact or causing any disruption inside this particular constituency.
Well, Shanique, if would Gabby say holds firm, then he's gonna get some votes, but he's invisible. I went on his Facebook.
I guess he can get that one vote.
He can get the dog and the shirt vote, because I went on his page and he has 2 political posts that he shared twice, and that's it. I mean, these people are just look like they're not trying. I don't get it with COI, and it's just like a waste of time.
Honestly, persons in the area said that they didn't feel like there was an election happening. They didn't see or feel any type of excitement or activity galvanized in the community.
This is Bane and Grantstown.
Yeah.
Gabby, for people, if you had Kirky's bar,
that's it.
What you expect them to do? They don't care what election. They don't care what's going on.
Michael, you have the comment of the night.
I didn't just go to Kirky.
Michael, you have the comment of the night.
You can't be disrespecting the local watering hole like that, Michael.
Michael, you want it. You absolutely want it.
I didn't just go to Kirky.
Those people didn't even know they were sitting there talking to Gabrielle. I tell Michael, I love that.
As a matter of fact, none of them were drinking. None of the persons that I spoke to were under the influence or anything. We had a sober conversation, and I went into the community near Kirky's as well. So we spoke to residents.
But perhaps you found out more about
than one person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move this on, because maybe she got more response then from the next candidate, and that next candidate is the Free National Movement's Jay Philippe. This is Bane and Grantstown, the FNM's Jay Philippe. What have you found out, any of you all, about Jay Philippe?
Jay Philippe, from my understanding, was born in this area and grew up in this area. His roots are in this area, and I think that will probably work in his interest. Would it be enough? We will have to see, but he's moving door to door. You know, Jay Philippe also was in Grand Bahama about 2 months ago. He came and was ratified as the candidate. And so he's doing the regular door to door and grill and chill events. I think what they're really counting on the fact that this is his neighborhood.
This is home. This is where he was born and grew up.
Yeah, his dad, is a pastor of a church in the community as well. He's been preaching for some 45 years. Some residents had informed me. He did, however, he was rather late to the ratification process. So there was a lot of concern in whether he can keep pace with the current member of parliament due to how late in the game the Free National Movement sent him there. However, he hit the ground running, and many of them told me about some of the programs that he started, including implementing some 75 homes with solar panels in the area. He also had a job creation and job training seminars that he's been putting on.
This is in the 2 months. This is in the 2 months that he's been there.
In the 2 months, so he started, based on what some of the residents told me, a very aggressive campaign trying to make up grounds down there. One of them told me he also did through Dumping Ground Corner and Hospital Lane. He had some events. It was some community events he hosted down there to sort of try and make up and pick up pace with connecting with the residents, some grill and chill, some food distribution stuff. So he's doing things. He's doing his door to door, and he's really trying to connect with those residents and make up grounds down there in Bane and Grantstown.
You know, Shanique, I've spoken to a good bit of people, and you know, some people refer to the young man as a rock star, and I think his parents are well known, his father's well known in the community, which holds a lot of ground that works in his favor. Like Gabby said, he's been doing a lot of events. His parents have done. His father's been doing community service in that area, and I think sometimes for kids, that's an extension. Anything that their father do is an extension of them, and people look at that as the same. So this is all going to work in his favor. We've seen Bane and Grantstown flip-flop before in terms of, it was FNM, went to PLP, and I think it's a high possibility, even though 62% of the vote last election went to the PLP, this could be one where we could see a possible change in change of the guard in this particular constituency if he continues doing what he's doing and knocking on the doors as he needs to.
I'll tell you, of course, you all know this. He is a colleague. I've known Jay Philippe, so he's no stranger to me either. And when I say colleague, I'm saying, his background is broadcasting. So he's gone on to do a lot on his own outside of what his, parents sort of, what they're known for. Jay Philippe also has the same reputation back in Grand Bahama. Now let's move forward, you all, to the incumbent in Bane and Grantstown, the Progressive Liberal Party's Wade Watson. What have we been able to discover about Wade Watson? How has he even been showing up this term in Bane and Grantstown?
Wade Watson has been consistent in his constituency, and he has a solid record on his Facebook page, having events every occasion. Little Miss Bane Bane and Grantstown. He works closely with assisting the seniors in his constituency. He has training opportunities for the young people in his constituency. He does school visitation. When there's a bereaved family, he goes to the bereaved family. He has breakfast in the park program. He does door-to-door checks regularly in his constituency.
He's been this present
And
all this time?
Don't bother me tonight. I'm not in the mood for you tonight.
Michael, you will get an opportunity because look like Michael.
You have a chance to do
I'm
your
wondering
research.
if Michael found out something else. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Like
Becky.
I was saying from my research.
Go ahead.
Not tonight. F&M bike.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Like I was saying,
Please let Peggy
he does the back. He's the see all F&M straps, you know. That's why y'all get your last. Y'all keep it up. Like I was saying, he does back to school snack giveaways, home visitation, and he has an annual BJ Knowledge 5K run. Fun walk.
In Bane and Grantstown?
He's been in Bane and let these F&M stay right there, buddy motion. What daddy do? Stay right there. He counts for something. You shall see and you shall feel. I'm done.
Gabrielle?
I'm not running.
Michael has something to say, but Shanique, I will not speak over Michael.
Michael, you want to jump in?
I mean, so, I have mixed emotions when it comes to Wade Watson. I heard, and this is not my opinion. This is what, earlier in I would say last year, person said, some people asked, is he actually in politics? At one point, there was questions that erupted early last year as it relates to, a lot of people didn't know who he was and didn't know he was sitting in Parliament.
Are you saying people in Bane and Grantstown didn't know who Wade Watson was?
Well, this boy is lying.
No, I'm talking about the general public at one point, early in the year. Now, I've heard some things. I didn't know much of him not until people started making noise and started inquiring. I mean, I've heard that he has done some things in Bane and Grantstown. It's not, I don't think to the extent that people jump up and down and say, yeah, we'd be happy to have him back. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think this is going to be, the PLP did win by 62% of the vote last election. I think this is going to be a ground dog fight in terms of who's going to come out victorious. So at the end of the day, whoever wins, at the end of the day, it's who knocks on the door and who has the ideas and what people actually want to hear in terms of what they're going to do in terms of their vision for Bane and Grantstown.
Gabrielle.
Listen, Shanique and viewers, my temperature gauge rose between Michael and Peggy. I don't know what's going on. Bane and Grantstown
trying to be on fire. This is official enough for your left.
Let me let you know what I found out from the residents
and the other places.
And from the residents in the community. I personally spoke to residents who has been assisted by Mr. Wade Watson. These were some young persons who I came across, and they said, I can say for certain, and they said, you can go ahead and say this, that the minister has personally assisted me with some business ventures that I was trying to get started or whatever it is that they were trying to do in the community. They were from the community, and I spoke to them, and they were satisfied with the level of representation that they got. These are from residents there. I also found that some residents did feel disconnected. They feel like he didn't really start to pick up until election was getting close. He started off good, and then they felt like there was a little lull.
There was a lull.
There was a lull in between. They said he started off with a lot of force. There was a brief lull, but he is back on top of things. They wasn't sure if something happened, but there was a mixed bag in terms of the stuff from Bane and Grantstown residents.
Okay, look, you all heard this. Very, very hot. Listen, there's still one question remaining as it relates to Bane and Grantstown, and it is this. Where is it leaning right now? Don't answer yet. Don't answer, because when we come back, we will be headed to Fort Charlotte. How does that look? I know many of you are waiting to hear. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At InvestStar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
The race to 2026 is heating up, and the nation's voice is louder than ever. Here on Beyond the Headlines, we're checking the mood, the momentum, and the message of the people. I'm Shanique Miller. Each week, we're taking the temperature of the electorate to see what's really driving the nation. Who's connecting? Who's cooling off? What issues are heating up ahead of 2026? This is Temperature Check 2026, where journalism meets the nation's heartbeat. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you all tuned in. It's Temperature Check Wednesday, and tonight we are shifting now. We did Bane and Grantstown in the first segment of Temperature Check. Now we are looking at Fort Charlotte. And so let's jump right in. Here are the candidates for Fort Charlotte. The Coalition of Independents, Daphne Johnson. The Free National Movement's Travis Robinson. And the Progressive Liberal Party's Sabas Bastian. And so, panelists, let's jump right in. Starting with the Coalition of Independents, Daphne Johnson. What have we been able to discover about her?
Daphne Johnson, I found a couple TikToks with her on them. Her and her four people on the ground walking, and after they walked, they would have a congratulations. So this was well, it went well. DOA, DOA, DOA.
Michael?
I think the reality of it is she chose the wrong fight. I don't think this is a fight of David and Goliath, and I think Daphne she should have found someplace else to run. I think the COI is definitely going to be a non-factor in this particular race.
That's two races.
So let's move on.
What's your name, Gabby?
The host said we're moving on.
So let's look at the Free National Movement's candidate in the Fort Charlotte constituency, Travis Robinson. What do we know? Travis Robinson, by the way, is no newcomer to the block. That's just Travis, the first person there on the screen. If you're going from left to right. Travis, of course, served as a junior minister before in the Minnis administration. He also is a former member of parliament. He left Bane and Grantstown. Now he is a candidate in Fort Charlotte. What do we know about Travis Robinson? How is he looking this time around?
Travis Robinson, Mr. Captain Robinson, has been on the ground from 2021. Shortly after being ushered out of Bane and Grantstown, he started to look at Fort Charlotte. I've been on the ground with Captain Robinson and his team about 3 or 4 times. I've known him from 2016 when he was an independent, young, aspiring man focused on fighting for his community. It's sad now for me to see what he has become in this race, because he was promising before Sabas. He looked very promising, and now he is turned into just crying and moaning and complaining about Sabas. I hear more about Sabas from Travis Robertson than I hear about Sabas from Sabas. He has made his campaign.
So you feel as though he's lost his own way and his own
I
campaign?
think he's overwhelmed, he's frustrated, and it's showing up in all his material, even the sis and desist, and then his latest video where he's going through the record of Sabas, how he made his millions and millions, in my opinion, an attempt to discredit him, which is a very sad approach. Sabas, anyhow, we ain't talking about Sabas yet.
No, we're not
so
there.
it has been a very sad approach. I think Travis Roberts find himself right out. See it? See that for now? He's saying that his team is that Fort Charlotte is not for sale. But Sabas is fixing roof. And he's giving bags of vegetables. He think Fort Charlotte cheap bags of vegetables. So he think Fort Charlotte cheap. When Sabas fixing roof and roads and giving startup kits to young Fort Charlotte residents, Travis gives out cassava and cabbage stem. so he won't buy Fort Charlotte, but his price is what he's trying to buy them with.
So it seems as though Travis himself is trying to endear himself
but he
to
can't
Fort Charlotte.
afford nothing else but the vegetables. So he's trying to purchase them with cassava, potato, onions, and things. When Sabas is reaching, it's annoying.
Gabrielle?
I couldn't find a not for sale sign, Shanique. I just want you to know. The Travis Robertson campaign says that Fort Charlotte is not for sale. So I had to make one.
That's his campaign says that?
That's his motto.
It says that Fort Charlotte is not for sale. So I couldn't find a sign in the shop, so I had to make one just now. Fort Charlotte is not for sale, according to Captain Travis Robinson. Echoing some of the sentiments, Travis Robinson has been on the ground since 2021 in the Fort Charlotte community. He has a large team that walks with him and behind him that works with him. Boy, oh boy.
Well, he should have been more confident then. I mean, to have been on the ground all this time.
Travis has said that he is not backing down. What are you talking about? He should have been more confident. He has said that he's not backing down from anything. Travis has launched a scholarship program. He's launched a scholarship program for the residents of Fort Charlotte that wish to be captains as well.
You know,
he's launched the program.
People who want to fly.
Yes.
But they ain't Fort Charlotte ain't for sale though. What are you saying?
You know, this particular race reminds me. We talk about David and Goliath. We talk about the pit bull and the chihuahua. And we've seen Travis in politics. He came from Bane and Grantstown. He did well in that community when he ran. I think the last election, he took a beating from the current incumbent. And I think coming into Fort Charlotte, I think this was kind of unexpected for him. Carving such a powerhouse like Sabas, you have one candidate like Travis telling everyone that they want to hear, and then you have another candidate doing everything that people want you to do. So I see this being, the PLP has won this seat by 62% of the voters last election. So this is going to be, a very, very, very tough uphill battle for the F&M in this particular race, but it's all going to be based upon the demographics, because you have certain parts of Fort Charlotte that falls inside, I think, kind of the western area, and then it's just based on how those voters are spread,
right,
in terms of does the F&M maintain, what they had last election. And would they actually, or does the actual spread, does the 62% go to 80%? Based on.
Funny enough that Michael mentioned that. I believe with the cut, and I can be wrong, some more of Bane and Grantstown was actually pushed in to Fort Charlotte in that boundaries cut. I believe another polling division or so from that Bane and Grantstown border was
so that
sprinkled
doesn't help.
in.
I don't think that helps. I don't think that helps. Travis, in a way. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a lot. If that's the case, you have a large bit of the constituency. They're not looking for talk. They're looking for what can you do for me now? Because these are voters who are tired of hearing lip service.
You're absolutely right.
That's like
Michael,
people saying this Home Depot and this, like, it's like you having a Home Depot and you having a Little General.
That is exactly what was said some months ago. Michael, well, guess what? You pick up right here, because we're going to go into then the Progressive Liberal Party's candidate, Sebas Bastian. At the center of the screen right there, you're looking at Sebas Bastian. Michael, jump in. What is Sebas? How has he been showing up in Fort Charlotte since he entered the race and was ratified?
Shanique, I mean, everything that Sebas has done, I mean, and at the end of the day, money is money. I don't care, at the end of the day, what, you did, whatever, you were successful in doing what you did. I mean, you're not looking at someone who actually is running a constituency headquarters. You have someone that built a community center that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. That doesn't seem like, if Sebas loses, I mean, the worst that can happen for Sebas, at the end of the day, if he was to lose, at the end of the day, I'm pretty much sure that you're going to still have, Fort Charlotte will still have a community center for persons to come in and do what they need to do. And I think people are looking at that. People aren't looking at, hey, this guy is not coming in. He's not just talking, he's actually doing. And I think that's what sets him apart from any candidate who was to come up against, and come in Fort Charlotte. I mean, like I say, it's like apples and oranges there when it comes to talking and doing.
What can I say? Fort Charlotte is not for sale anymore because Sebastian buy back the block. I mean, he done rebuild people who he done get them. He done get them power and light where they never had it before. He done give them security, ring doorbell cam. Matter of fact, Fort Charlotte now has its own portion of the own foundation grant. I mean, it ain't for sale no more. He done buy it back and give it back to the residents of Fort Charlotte. So when you talk about empowerment now, and people are looking for what is it that they can get from you, I mean, you are the hill so steep. Gravity.
I think one thing you also have to like about the campaign is that, it's just not giving handouts. You have persons that, you're building entrepreneurship, you're building small and medium-sized businesses. I mean, all these are things that, everybody wants a piece of the pie. And this is not just about, people say buying. People are now getting the opportunity, whether it be through grants or whether it through hey, I'll help you with a startup, hopefully you do well. And, a lot of these things, come back to, I would say what you give is what you get back.
Absolutely. And Michael, you're right, because the empowerment is what's important. I mean, there's a student who after school goes into his barbershop business, and he's happy to say he's a business owner right now. Being empowered, you're right. Peggy, what have you been able to find out about what Sebas Bastian has been doing?
What'd she say? Everything Gabby said, but in addition to what he's done by my other 2%, he appears to be getting joy from doing these things. It looks like entering politics give him a way to empower people, give him a way into people's home to find out their needs, and he's meeting those needs. And so, ring the bell. And they were saying ring the bell, Sadie.
I think they got to go in the prayer closet for that one.
But before they go in the prayer closet, I need to ask you all one question. Where is Bane and Grantstown leaning right now? PLP, F&M, or COI?
I Peggy's sake, I can say COI, because Peggy don't call me after she don't call me. I think it's going to go COI.
It's going to keep messing with me. Bane and Grantstown too close to call right now today. I want to see how things progress during the campaign when people really see the campaign financing on the ground.
I agree with Gabby. It is too close to call because of the different circumstances with Philippe being a hometown boy. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, so ladies and gent, where is Fort Charlotte leaning right now? PLP,
COI.
F&M, or COI?
Peggy say COI.
You all ain't taking nothing serious this show. Nothing. The temperature that rise so hot, Shanique, they done lost oxygen to the brain.
If what Gabby said is correct, if part of Bane and Grantstown moved into Fort Charlotte, then the PLP will definitely have 85% of the votes. And
What do you say?
Fort Charlotte is leaning PLP.
It is PLP.
Okay, so there you all have it. I hope you all are keeping tabs on everything that we've said, because after each one, this is what we do, where it's leaning. So what have you been able to determine so far? We're going to take a break next week and come back after Easter. But I thank you so much, Peggy, Gabrielle, Michael. Thank you all so much. Of course, at the top of tonight's show, Cassia Stewart, Ellington Ferguson, thank you both as well. And a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening and for participating online. And all the row and everything else. Jesus. Lord of mercy. Listen, celebrate Easter. How about that? How about that? Listen, I thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been awesome having you hang out with me this evening. And of course, my panelists. Look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.